Hi everyone, today we've got real beast from BMW's M lineup on our diagnostic. A BMW X4M Competition with powerful S58 inline 6 engine. This one is 2019 model with only 40,000 kilometers on the odometer. It was imported to Russia in 2023, already with about 20,000 kilometers on it. And now, 1 year later, it's here for a full technical check. Why is this car interesting? The reason is simple. At around 30,000 kilometers, the owner decided to make it even faster and did a cheap tuning using software from MGFlasher. In stock form, S58 engine makes 510 horsepower, already a lot, but after the tune the powerful jumped to 680 horsepower. That turns this fast SUV into something close to a real sports car. It now goes from 0 to 100 in just 3.5 seconds. So let's talk a bit more about the engine. The S58 is a 3.0 liter straight 6 with a 2 turbochargers, built as a big upgrade from the older S55. One cool feature is the LDS coating, used on the cylinder walls. In today's video we will check how the engine looks after 10,000 kilometers on the driving with extra power. First, we'll remove the spark plugs and use a small camera to look inside the cylinders. We will check the condition of the pistons, walls and valves, looking for some of heat damage, carbon buildup or other issues. Since we will also take off part of the intake, we will use the chance to check the turbo. We will look at the blades to see if there are any chips or damage that tell us a lot about future reliability. Then we will lift the car and check the undercarriage, especially the transmission and suspension. We want to see if there are any leaks, any unusual wear or signs that the extra power is causing problems. Also, as part of the MGFlasher Stage 1 tune, the OPF gasoline particulate filter was removed, both physically and from the software. This filter is only used in European models. Cars in the US or Korea don't have a real OPF, they just have empty housings. The catalytic converters are still in place for now, but if the owner wants to go stage 2, they will need to be removed as well. So sit back and enjoy. We are about to dive deep into this tuned monster. You can already tell from a distance that this car is tuned and running without emission system. The exhaust tips are completely black. To get more power you need to inject more fuel. This makes the catalytic converter heat up even more, so the mixture is enriched to help cool them down, and the popcorn effect also requires a rich fuel mixture. Alright, let's take a look at the underside of the car. Right away we can see some kind of grease here at the joint of the steering rack components. Grease is leaking out from this seam. It's hard to say anything definite. Obviously, it shouldn't be like this, but it's also not a sign of any critical wear. It's something to just keep an eye on for now. Moving on, here we see the front inner drive shaft, no issues here, everything is dry. The outer shaft also looks good. Now let's check the left side. The tie rod ends are in good shape, everything is dry. The inner left drive shaft looks fine, and the outer one is intact as well. Here we notice a non-standard suspension setup, but we will get to that a bit later. Next, we can see the oil drain plug, and there is a slight oil slippage from it. Nothing critical here, most likely the sealing washer just needs to be replaced. And right here in front of us is the front drive shaft in its universal joint. There is some grease visible on the housing, which indicates this component is under serious load. It's important to monitor any play in U-joint, otherwise it might turn into a real starting ground down here. Now let's take a look at the automatic transmission and the transfer case. Everything looks to be in good condition here, no signs of any issues, no leaks, and the gasket are holding up well. All rubber bushings are intact with no cracks. We also make sure to check the spot, the junction between the engine and the transmission. When there is wear, oil leaks can appear here, but this case everything looks perfectly fine. As for the exhaust system, like I mentioned earlier, this car is running stage 1 and the catalytic converters are still in place. However, the 2 OPS filters have been removed. As you can see, an X-pipe was installed to merge the flow, which also improved the sound. Here we have the active rear differential and the drive shafts. Overall, everything is in excellent condition. condition. All CV joints, both inner and outer, are in good shape, and there are no leaking seals. The exhaust system also shows no signs of burns or damage. One thing worth nothing about OPF filters is their durability, even though in this case they have already been removed. By the way, this is the spot where they used to be. Take a look at the wells. Compared to diesel particle filters, OPFs offer certain advantages for the owner. DPFs are known for getting clogged over time, especially in vehicles that mostly do short trips at the lower speeds. That's not much of an issue with OPFs. The higher exhaust and engine temperatures in petrol cars help burn off deposits more effectively. Here, using an endoscope, we can take a look at the rubber flex disc connecting the transfer case to the rear driveshaft. As you can see, the rubber is completely intact, no cracks at all, and that's despite a significant increase in power and torque, as well as the owner's aggressive driving style. As promised, here's a quick overview of this suspension setup. KW Variant 3 is an adjustable performance coilover suspension system made by German company KW. Main purpose: allows you to adjust ride height, typically in a range of -20 to -50 mm. Offers independent adjustment of compression and rebound damping, so you can fine-tune the balance between comfort and performance. Significantly improves handling at the high speed in corners and on the track. The owner of this car is very satisfied with the suspension. In fact, he says it's even more comfortable than the stock setup. And now we move on to the most important part of our diagnostics: inspecting the cylinders using an endoscope. As I mentioned earlier, the cylinders in this engine are manufactured using LDS technology. Here's a brief explanation what that is. In this process, an electrically conductive metal wire is heated until it melts. The molten metal is then sprayed onto the cylinder surface under high pressure, creating a thin layer around 0.3 mm of ferrous material. The coating is highly wear resistant and, most importantly, ensures fast and efficient heat transfer from the combustion chamber to the crankcase and into the cooling system. Essentially, it's a type of plasma coating where molten metal droplets are sprayed onto the surface to form an uniform layer. What LDS allows is the creation of the thinner and lighter cylinder walls. For example, in a B58, the initial coating is about 0.4 mm, which is then honed down to 0.2 mm, incredibly thin compared to traditional iron sleeves. This reduced wall thickness improves thermal conductivity and consistency, while also making room for additional cooling channels between the cylinders. As a result, the engine can be tuned to run hotter thanks to its superior cooling capability, a major advantage when increasing power under high-performance condition. The last layer is finalized in a mirror honing operation of the cylinder surface. As perfect as the surface may look, the special advantage of the LDS process is retained, a layer uniformly interspersed with pores, providing minimal friction and ideally suited for oil retention. Now let's take a look at the condition of the cylinders in this car after 10,000 kilometers, running an MGFlasher tune. As you can see, they are in absolutely excellent shape. Just look at the piston, it's completely clean, and you can even make out the texture on its surface. There is no carbon buildup, and the LDS-coated cylinder walls show no signs of scoring, scratches or wear. The honing marks and oil-retaining pores are clearly visible. Exactly how it should be. All 6 cylinders look equally healthy. We also checked the cylinder head and the valves. Again, everything is perfectly clean, almost like new. Now here's a quick comparison. This is the video of B58 engine with 17,000 kilometers on the clock, completely stock, and its cylinder and the piston condition is noticeably worse. Now let's move on the turbocharger's compressor wheel. Unlike the cylinders, the wheel doesn't look quite as good. If you look closely, you will notice chips and pitting along the edges of the blades. I can say with 100% certainty that this damage is due to increased power, but it's more likely that the car had a high flow or poorly maintained air filter, or even an air leak allowing unfiltered air to enter the intake. In that case, street dust and debris could have been sucked straight into the turbo, bypassing the filter. and the damage we are seeing here in exactly the kind of thing that result from that. Here's a video showing what a healthy compressor wheel is supposed to look like. So friends, what's the verdict? In my opinion, despite the significant increase in power and torque, we haven't observed any serious negative changes. Of course, I fully understand that the overall mileage of this car is still relatively low, and even 10,000 kilometers on the MGFlasher tune isn't enough to claim with 100% certainty that the tune is completely safe and has no impact on long-term engine durability. But it's still something to go on. We were seeing excellent cylinder condition, with clear cross-hatching on the walls and clean pistons, free from carbon buildup. The turbocharger shows some signs of wear, but in this case it's likely due to filtration issues, not the tune itself. And as we've seen, drivetrain components are also in good shape. So far no leaks, no unusual wear, and everything appears to be holding up well under increased loads. So at this stage we can say that tuning with MGFlasher doesn't cause any catastrophic consequences, even with aggressive driving. Of course, more conclusive result will come after significantly more mileage, say another 50,000 kilometers, but for now everything looks very promising.